On January 15, 1947, Elizabeth Short, a woman on the fringes of Hollywood society, was brutally murdered. The killing was one of the most gruesome in Tinseltown's history, shocking and fascinating the public in equal measure. Yet no one has ever been charged for the crime. Some believe there was a police conspiracy to protect the killer, but others are not so sure, especially because the press were closely following every stage of the case.
There was actually reporters arrived at the scene and got these photographs of the body before the police arrived. There's 6 major newspapers in Los Angeles at the time. They're all vying for headlines.
Detectives were forced to work under the glare of the daily press, eager to publish every juicy morsel they came across. To hook in readers, the papers borrowed a nickname Short was given by some of her men friends, the Black Dahlia.
Oh, the city was terrified. But what made it worse was the killer, within a few days after the crime, starts mailing in notes to the press.
Despite having letters from the killer, the police failed to make an arrest. And to this day, the case is still unsolved. Then, in 1999, veteran homicide detective Steve Hodel discovered a bizarre personal connection to this case. A photo album he inherited when his father died that year.
So this is the actual album, the photo album that really started the whole thing. Here's a photograph of my father, and I'm sitting on his lap. And then we have this photograph, which I looked at and said, "Who is this?"
Steve believes this woman is none other than Elizabeth Short, and that his father was having an affair with her at the time of her death.
So in 1947, Dad is a medical doctor. He's a venereal disease control officer for the city, and he has his own private practice and VD clinic in Los Angeles. Obviously, a lot of stars would get in trouble. They'd have problems that need to be taken care of, and George was one of the go-to guys in LA to make those problems go away.
George Hodel's life was as glamorous, rich, and satisfying as any of his movie star clients. So why would a man at the height of his career risk it all by committing such a brutal murder? According to Steve, it's because his father had a dark and highly violent side. In 1950, Hodel was tried for molesting his own daughter, who was 14 at the time. Although he was acquitted of that crime, suspicion fell on him for another, the Black Dahlia murder.
One of the angles they looked at was anybody with any kind of medical experience who'd been accused of a sex crime. And so they looked at a lot of people like that. And later on, Dr. George Hodel fell into their net because he was a guy with a medical background who'd been accused of a sex crime.
During his investigation, Steve discovered his dad was briefly the prime suspect, and police bugged his Hollywood home.
They actually put 2 microphones in the walls. One was in the master bedroom, which would be the front area here to your right, and the second was his office, which is the front area to your left. They ran the cords down through the basement and sat and recorded for 6 weeks.
The transcripts from the eavesdropping operation reveal a remarkable piece of evidence.
In these conversations, Dad is heard admitting to committing the Black Dahlia murder. He says, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia, they can't prove it now."